Hey folks, before we get into this, I just wanted to say that Castlevania is a pretty violent show, and while I have tried to limit the amount of violence in the clips that I use, some of these clips do have some blood and guts, so if that bothers you, you might want to skip this video. Thanks.
So, you come here often? Oh. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Hi, I'm right in desk, and Netflix Castlevania is kinda gay, right? Look, I'm not just saying that because Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor are totally in a bisexual throuple, or because Trevor is 100% my anime boyfriend. Baby, I promise, he means nothing to me. Those are just headcanons, you know, that's just for funsies. Don't at me, okay? Don't at me about that. The gay quality that I am talking about that sort of permeates the whole show doesn't actually have anything to do with shipping, and it doesn't really have anything to do with queerbaiting either. I'd say check out the video that I did about queerbaiting in Batman Beyond, but that got universally blocked because I use a clip from the Mike Snow music video for Genghis Khan in it, and you know, that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. It's fine. Wasn't even the best video anyways. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so if you didn't get to see that video and you don't know what queerbaiting is, here's like a little really quick definition. So queerbaiting is when the people behind a show keep getting all these little winks and nudges to the fan base about how two characters are totally super, have awesome, great chemistry, and you know, hey, maybe wink wink, they might be gay, there might be something going on there, and they really play this up because they know that it appeals to an LGBT fan base, but nothing actually comes of it in the show itself. There's no actual gay content in the show. It's giving LGBT fans who are very hungry for representation a way to at least sort of see themselves on screen, but without actually having to like commit to actual gay representation, and therefore appeasing a wider, usually more conservative fan base. As far as Castlevania goes, Alucard and Trevor do have some really excellent rivalry shipping chemistry going on there, but at no point have I actually seen the showrunners play that up as part of the marketing. Now, that could just be because I haven't taken a super close look into the actual marketing, but most of the stuff that I see is mostly playing up their friendship and their frenemies sort of feeling, and not actually like, hey, shippers, this might be kinda gay. And, you know, it's okay. Straight men can have good chemistry together. That is fine. That is not a problem with a series. The only way that it becomes a problem is if it's a way to bait LGBT fans into watching your program because they're hoping maybe someday they can see two boys kiss, or two girls kiss, or that maybe that guy that you put in a dress as a gag is actually a trans woman, and so on and so forth. Okay, so before we actually get into the discussion of what makes Castlevania kinda gay, we're first going to have to talk about what Castlevania is. So Castlevania is a 12-episode animated series on Netflix that is based off of a video game by Konami. I have never played the video games. I am not a gamer. We're not touching the video games for this. We are just treating Castlevania the show as its own separate little entity. So what is the show actually about? So, Season 1. A woman named Lisa shows up at Dracula's castle. She demands to be let in, she goes inside, she kind of backtalks him, she kind of sasses him, and she demands that he teach her how to be a doctor. She doesn't want to be a healer or a magician, she wants to learn science. Dracula is impressed by her tenacity, and he agrees to teach her how to be a doctor, and along the way, they fall in love. It's kind of got a little bit of a Beauty and the Beast vibe to it, if the Beast liked getting pegged. Like, seriously, that is the face of a man who is totally down to get pegged. 19 years pass, and Lisa is arrested and burned at the stake for witchcraft by the Catholic Church. When Dracula finds out about this, he is none too pleased. He tells the people of Wallachia, which is now modern-day Romania, that they have 1 year to completely remove all traces of humanity from the country. Otherwise, he will wipe them off the face of the earth. Adrian Tepes, Dracula and Lisa's half-vampire son, tries to stop Dracula from doing this, and in the process, he is grievously wounded and he has to go into a restorative slumber. Cut to 1 year later, and Dracula's army has started to try to wipe out Wallachia, and we are introduced to Trevor Belmont, a washed-up alcoholic son of the Belmont warrior dynasty that was all but wiped out. The Belmonts are known for hunting down and killing vampires and other monsters, and that is what Trevor has been raised for since childhood. However, after his family was wiped out, he has pretty much just gone about wandering the country getting drunk. He is convinced by a group of speakers, which are a group of nomadic scholars and magicians, to find one of their missing members, a woman named Sypha. After Trevor finds Sypha, she convinces him to help her find the sleeping savior, someone who it is foretold will help turn the tide against Dracula's forces. When they find this sleeping savior, surprise, surprise, it is actually Adrian Tepes, who's now going by the name Alucard, as in the opposite of Dracula. After a brief fight with Alucard and Trevor, Alucard realizes that the prophecy where he was foretold to be able to stop Dracula, he was joined by a magician and a hunter. Sypha and Trevor fill out those roles, so obviously they are going to help him defeat his father. They call a truce between themselves, and they decide to get to work. Season 2. Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor travel to the ancestral Belmont home in search of a way to defeat Dracula. Meanwhile, Dracula, along with his vampire generals and 2 human forge masters, which are basically necromancers, continues to wage war on humans, but at this point he has decided he is not just going to wipe out Wallachia, he is going to wipe out all human life on Earth. And because he will be wiping out humans as well, he will also be wiping out vampires. Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor spend most of the season in the library underneath the Belmont home trying to figure out a way to defeat Dracula, while Dracula's army experiences some drama within the court as Carmilla, one of the vampire lords, tries to manipulate the situation and take control of what's going on. This, of course, leads to a big epic battle between the trio and Dracula's forces. So, what am I getting at with the whole gay thing? I just realized I say "so" a whole lot when I'm beginning sentences in these videos. Anyways, Castlevania is not the only vampire show to play around with the themes of LGBT struggles. Vampires in general are a way to explore an outsider status. You can see this in films like Only Lovers Left Alive, Let the Right One In, even Twilight to an extent. Actually, you really see this a lot in Twilight. Twilight is all about the outsider status, and, you know, Twilight doesn't get enough credit. It's actually not that bad. Hot take. Some notable examples when we are talking about vampire stories dealing with LGBT struggles are 1, True Blood. True Blood specifically points out that vampires are trying to gain rights in a human world. It even goes far as to have the vampires be called fangs. Fangs. Get it? But otherwise, True Blood is super hetero. So hetero. The other big example that I can think of is Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, which involves 2 characters, Lestat and Louis, who are basically life partners and even adopt a child together. But Anne Rice is kind of famously homophobic and litigious, so that's about as far down that particular road as I'm going to go with that. Just know, vampires and LGBT theming and gay coding, it's not new. It has been around forever. However, I do think that Castlevania is handling it in a way that I haven't seen before that we're now going to get into. The thing that sets Castlevania apart is that it's not necessarily the vampires that have this outsider status, it's actually the human characters that have the outsider status. In fact, the vampire society actually seems to be pretty well established. They have their own hierarchy and they've got their own society, and none of them really seem to feel any angst about being vampires. In fact, all of them seem to be pretty happy with what they are. They don't seem to mind that they are not part of human society. Likewise, Alucard's angst doesn't come from the fact that he is half vampire. He doesn't seem to care that he is between these two worlds. The thing that is mostly upsetting to him is the fact that his mother is dead and his father's trying to destroy the world. Dracula does have some of the most interesting stuff going on as far as his outsider status goes and his gay coding goes, even though, yes, he is hetero, as far as we know. Yes, I know, but I'm getting there. Dracula does actually have some of this outsider status in a roundabout way, mostly through his reaction to his wife's death at the hand of the church. This is something that a lot of LGBT people can feel a lot of sympathy for, and we will get to that later. Let's just focus on the human characters right now. The humans in this story deal a lot with outsider status. Basically, every major human character is an outsider. They are someone who feels some sort of oppression by the society that they live in. Lisa, of course, is persecuted by the church for trying to be a scientist, and we will get again to Lisa and Dracula and the thing with the church in a little bit. Let's talk about some of the other characters, though. Trevor. Trevor's family was excommunicated and basically driven out of their ancestral home, basically killed off, because they were different, they were outsiders, and they are not accepted. Trevor's introduction is especially poignant to me as an LGBT person because I feel like every member of the LGBT has had that moment when they are sitting out in a public place and suddenly they overhear someone saying something about gay people, and they have that moment of fear where they are wondering, am I actually safe here? Is that person over there talking about how terrible gay people are and how gay people are a sin and horrible and don't deserve rights? If they see me, are they going to hurt me? Can they tell that I am gay or bi or trans just by looking at me? Maybe I should sort of hide that trans pride pin, or maybe I shouldn't have dyed my hair this particular color and have this particular style because they can tell what I am, and I now need to figure out how to get out of this place without drawing attention to myself.
The Belmonts? We should have killed all the Belmonts.
Likewise, Sypha and her people, the Speakers, are seen as heretics, and they are blamed for the hordes of demons. And Sypha herself seems to be an atheist and understands that she is not necessarily welcome in wider society.
Anyone can see that we are not responsible for what befalls Gresham. We are here to help, that's all.
Speakers don't help. Speakers are tainted. You attract evil, and you and yours were told to be out of Gresham by sunset.
This, of course, echoes fundamentalists blaming natural disasters on the gays. Of course, it also ties into historically marginalized nomadic peoples, such as the Roma. But since we are just talking about a queer reading of Castlevania, we're just going to stick to the similarities to LGBT people. I do understand that there are multiple things going on with this particular set of characters. As far as the villain goes, depending on how you interpret the line when Isaac is being beaten in a flashback,
you actually wanted to learn so you could help me do my work. Why?
Because... Please, don't be angry with me anymore.
Just tell me, Isaac. It's all right.
Because I love you.
You could easily read Isaac as the only openly gay character in the series, which I choose to do. I don't really see how else this line is supposed to be taken. Likewise, a lot of Isaac's feelings towards Dracula do come off as loving in a somewhat more than platonic way. And finally, there is Hector, who was hated by his family because of an innate part of himself that he could not change.
I never wanted you, Hector. You sicken me. Do you understand? The moment you came out of me, I knew you were wrong.
Okay, now that we've talked about the human characters and how they can be seen as being somewhat LGBT coded, let's go back to Dracula, as I said we were going to. And let's talk about the thing that first made me interested in Castlevania and was the thing that planted the seed of this video in my head. And that is his reaction to Lisa's death. I think that most people can sympathize with Dracula losing the love of his life, especially in such a brutal way. But her death comes at the hands of the church, which at the time was both a religious and a political power, and is especially poignant to LGBT people, especially since, even today, there are many religious organizations that do not recognize our love and who do not want to see us have rights. This, of course, is not the first time that a villain of a series has been gay-coded, even when they are nominally straight. That is, in fact, a very, very old trope, one that I talked about with Batman Beyond, but of course, that video got taken down. It's fine. Usually this trope is one that is used by writers to signal that a villain is deviant, or that they're unfit for society, or that they are a sexual menace to the characters. The example that I used in my Batman Beyond video was of Silva from that one James Bond movie. I didn't actually put this in the script. I wasn't going to originally reference him, so I completely forgot the name of that one. I'll put it, editing me will put it somewhere down here. But the thing that I find so interesting about Dracula in comparison to all of these gay-coded villains is that he isn't actually presented as any of those things. He is not presented as being deviant or being a sexual menace. He is presented as a loving, devoted husband who is driven to madness by the extreme brutality that is done to his wife. Even though he is trying to do one of the most horrible things that anyone can do, you know, the G word, I already know that I am like walking a fine line with this video and I don't want to get it taken down. So even though Dracula is trying to remove all life on Earth, it's still super easy to relate to him. In fact, most LGBT people I have talked to who have watched this series have said sort of the same thing about Dracula, which is that, yeah, they can see why he would do it. Now, of course, they don't agree with wiping out the whole world. That is generally where they draw the line, but they can understand why he would want to wipe out at least the whole village or the whole church, or someone that took his love from him in such a horrible way. And that is because LGBT people know what it feels like to have our love condemned, and how much having that love condemned can make you hate all of humanity. Likewise, Hector and Isaac, who are technically on the bad side of things, aren't presented as being any more dangerous than any of the other people on the vampire side. In fact, in many cases, they are seen as gentler and more kind. Like Dracula, they are presented in a sympathetic light. Hell, Hector is even infantilized to a very large degree, being shown as trusting and naive, and ultimately someone who just wants to be left alone because of something that he cannot change about himself. Isaac is also shown as being very sympathetic. He is one of the few characters, if not the only character, who is 100% completely loyal to Dracula. This loyalty is shown as a strength of his character, not as a flaw or a weakness. And this loyalty is strongly implied to be because he is in love with Dracula, even being willing to die for him. And Dracula, in some way, reciprocates this loyalty because he specifically goes out of his way to save Isaac's life, even though Isaac was 100% willing to die and did not want to be turned away. My cats always go crazy when I am trying to film. And the thing is, The gay coding themes don't stop with the villains themselves. As I said, Trevor and Sypha both have aspects that are very easily relatable as an LGBT person. They are outsiders trying to find a place in a world that hates them, and ultimately they create their own community and find their own purpose, something that most LGBT people do out of sheer necessity. Now, they do end up saving the world, even though the world doesn't really like them or even realize what they've done, but the characters who wanted to end the world aren't showed as being particularly evil. Everyone's motivations are treated as understandable, making for some of the most nuanced TV I have ever seen. What I'm ultimately getting at is that the series doesn't use gay coding or LGBT themes as signs of moral deviance, which is where they're usually used, but rather as ways of sympathizing with characters, both good and bad. Now, I don't know if those traits were intentionally put in there as references to the LGBT community. So if you're planning on telling me that I am reading way too much into this, yeah, I know. Chill. Yes, these are traits that anyone who is a minority who has outsider status has to deal with, but I think that's a good thing. We are reaching a point in media where it is okay to be an outsider. We're reaching a point where children's cartoons feature openly gay characters as something other than a joke or a very special episode. To see Castlevania give characters attributes of being outsiders, and to make that part of the reason why we love them and not the reason why we fear them, is incredibly powerful. It challenges the status quo, and it encourages viewers to be more thoughtful and more empathetic to others. Castlevania is not gay rep. I am not saying that it is, but I still see myself in a lot of the characters. And if someone watching the series can learn to love and accept characters like these that have these kind of attributes, then they can learn to love and accept someone like me. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you next time.
Hey folks, thanks for watching this video. Sorry that it takes me so long in between videos, but things have been super busy for me. I finally got this one out though. This is something that I have been working on since last Thanksgiving, and I figured it was spooky season, so I had to get it done. So if you like this video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video because YouTube likes to hide things that have anything related to LGBT content. So it would really mean a lot to me if you could help share this video around. And in case anyone's wondering, yes, I am working on another Batman Beyond video. I will get to it eventually. Okay, bye!